Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A cloud foundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
Binding strength. What is actually binding strength? Binding strength is actually given to a value set. We'll talk about what is the value set, what happens in FHIR is considering if there are resources. How many of you remember that in H7v2? In H7v2 org has defined few codes. Giving you an example, HL7, PID8 is the administrative gender. That is the field given by HL7 that you can define the code. For example, M is for male, F is for female, U is for unknown sort of thing. On the same lines, what FHIR has done is FHIR has also defined specific set of codes for some of the attributes. For some of the attributes. Now, where are those specific set of codes defined? FHIR is saying is if you are seeing a data type for an attribute as code or codable concept. These are very specific data types to FHIR. You might not find if anybody is working on Java NET, even OPS concepts. You will not find data types, something like code, something like codable concept. And whatever FHIR has defined, you might not find those data types. For example, identify human name, contact point. These are very specific to FTAR. But what FHIR says is about binding strength, that if you find an attribute which is having a value or a data type as code or a codable concept, that will have a linkage to binding strength. And now, what is that binding strength? Let's look into that binding strength. Let's go back to the specification. Let's find the attribute which is of type code. If I scroll down, I found a gender which is adhering to data type as code. Now, where is that binding strength present? Now, binding strength is written somewhere in this bracket for this value set. Now, what is this value set? From this keyword, value set, you might understand that there are a list of values which are defined by FHIR and you need to adhere to it. Binding strength is how much adherence you need to give it to the binding strength or to the value set. Can you change the value set? Can you extend the value set? That is, what is the meaning of this binding strength? There are 4 binding strengths available. One is required. Another one is preferred extensible. Next one is example. Now over here, if you see required, that means value which is listed in this value set. Now what is this value set? This is the value set, your allele, who has defined the values for you. Now, what all are the values defined? They have defined it as in HL7v2. It was M for male, F for female. Now here it is exact male and it is all in lowercase. It is female all in lowercase and FHIR is case sensitive or the unknown. All of these are value set and binding. Strength of the value set is required. That means now what is this required? You cannot or you have to adhere to the list of codes. You cannot extend the list. You cannot take the codes from other value set. This is the meaning that this is the only specific for codes. What FHIR says is for gender. If we talk about particularly gender, which is having the binding strength of required, you will have to adhere to the only 4 codes. Now, how do you map? Let's say the source system is sending a transgender. How do you map it? We will talk about it. That is a separate topic of extensions. We will talk about extensions in some time. Now, how do you map it? That is a separate topic. This is what is the meaning of required. That is one binding strength. Now the next binding stress to the value set. What is the value set? Wherever you will find a data type as code or codable concept, FHIR has defined a list of codes. Now how much adherence you have to give to those codes? That is given by binding strength. Value set is written before the. This is the value set. This is the binding strength. Now let's move to marital status. It is having codable concept. This is the value set. This is the binding strength. What is extensible? What extensible? Even if you want to read theoretical, you can click on this extensible. I will tell you where you can read the theory part of it. There is a grid mentioned. This is high level. The detailed description is written here, but there is a grid also which talks about. You can read these 4 definitions that will talk about the same thing which I am telling you. Now what is this extensible? Let's look into it. Marital status. Marital status. What FHIR? I might not be able to explain all the keywords. I don't know what it actually means. The definition is written here. I will take basic examples. What FHIR says. Now, considering this marital status, they have marked this as this value set as extensible. Now, what is this extensible? What extensible means is if the code is present in the list. You can see A, D is for divorced. I don't know what is A. You can read the definition here. I will talk about what I can understand. Is for married. S is single, which is never married. Use unmarried. Something. If you have a code which is present as part of value set, feel free to use it. That is anyhow for any binding strength. But let's consider if a person is 5 times married, how do you extend this one? What FHIR says is you can extend the value set. This is the value set which is present. You can extend the value. You can add another row here, 5 times married. Give a definition and you will be able to use 5 times married code in your resource and CDR will be accepting it. Any questions? What is extensible? It means you can extend the value set. If you want to know how do we do it, it is nothing but another resource. Value set is also a resource in FHIR. Whenever value set comes into picture, you will find another resource which looks something like this and it will hold some values. You need to extend one more row, something like this, and then you will be able to extend the data in the resources. That we will learn. How do you do it? Now going into the next one, it preferred. Preferred meaning there is preferred. Preferred means that if there is, let's consider there is a value set. Value. I will talk about one. It has a specific set of codes and there is a value set. It is also having a specific set of codes. Now, if let's find something which is preferred. Is there something which is preferred? Common language says it is preferred. Common language. It is codable concept. It is marked as preferred. Now what FHIR says is, if you are not happy with the values which are mentioned in this value set. Let's talk about what is mentioned in this value set. There is a value set ID, IE, TFB, C, P4, If you are not happy with the values which are defined here, probably it is defining all values. Now considering it has defined, it is not defined what you are looking for. You can go to another value set where the value is declared and you can use a code from that value set and FHIR will be able to accept it. This means you can draw a code from another value set. You cannot extend the value set. Difference between preferred is you can draw the code from another value set inextensible. You cannot draw a code from another value set preferred. You cannot extend the value set extensible. You can extend the value set also. Now what is example? Example. Let's see example. Considering it is written as example. What example means is the code of what are mentioned in the value set are just for example. You can feel free to extend the value set or you can draw codes from any value set that is just given for your reference purpose. Those are a sample codes present just for reference pointer. You can draw the code also. You can extend the value set also. Any question? What is binding string? We will now. You will definitely have to look into when we will learn how to write a resource. You will require some information on how to write a resource using this binding strength concept. Now let's go back. Let's talk about. I am actually looking for one thing. Let me see if I can find it. Over here. Now the question was, how do we extend the value set? Now let's look into how that is being done. The value set, the URL of a value set. Now there is a linkage. You need to understand this point also. There is a value set resource. I will say value set resource, which has defined the list of code. But how this list has been defined within the let me open the value set resource also. I will click on back. I will click on back. This is my gender, administrative gender. If I click on this JSON, this will give me the value set resource. This is the value set resource. If you look into this value set resource, there is a URL mentioned. You might not find. That is what when I open this resource for the first time. You will only see the URL present, but no codes. For example, you might ask in the patient resource. Let me open patient. FHIR R4 in the patient resource when we clicked on this gender. There are male, female, other unknown. But when you is saying that there is a value set defined in that value set, there are code. But when we clicked on that resource, there is no code actually mentioned. What happens is where is my paint? This is paint. The value set resource will hold a linkage to code system resource. There is another resource which is marked as code system. And within the code system resource, all the resources or all the values are defined. And all of this is nothing but a FHIR resource. Now let's go back and see what is there. If you look into this URL, this is the URL for the code system. This is a unit. It is not mandatory that if you hit it into the browser, it should give you a web page. You can just say // administrative gender should be. Now let's go back to the code system. If I go to the code system, this is a code system resource. We will learn how to write a resource today. The URL has to be a unique URL for the code system. That is what is being represented into the value set. Now within this code system, if I just scroll down, this is all the description about the resource. If you just see now, it is saying there are details. These are the codes which are present as part of the code system and will be available for your usage. Now if you have to work on another, or let's say you, as I talked about, you need to add another. What is that? A code within this code system. That is not possible because the binding strength of this particular value set is required. But considering it is marital status and you need to add one more code, feel free to copy. This is, I think, value set. This is code system. Feel free to copy one. This much grid. Change the details of what it actually means and mark it as 5 times merit. Give it is displays 5 times merit. Give a definition of 5 times merit and you will be able to use it for the marital status because marital status was extensible. Did you get this point? This is the code system resource where the actual codes are defined, only the URL, this URL which is defined in this code system. You will be finding it in the value set. All of these are internal references. You don't have to worry, but you should know the concept that how you need to do it. Let's see if the user has defined this URL which is going to do what? The botanical reusable path zone actions. And I will do it again overall. Any questions on the front? Write a resource. Here today, what we will do is I will help you understand from the specification. How do we write it? But everybody, we will be writing a patient resource today. What we need to do is we will start from top to bottom. Everybody will help me write an attribute which will build the entire resource and we will see how we will post it to the CD-RAR. I will explain the rules perfectly that you will be able to help me write a resource. Please pay attention. This is a complicated topic. When you have to write a resource, those rules are pretty much required when you are writing it manually. For example, a function or person needs to write a resource and give it to a technical folk that this is how the bundle or the resource will look like. Then that point will definitely come in picture that you need to write it manually without a schema. Let's look into how we write a resource. Anybody who remembers this concept? We learned the JSON, basic of JSON. There is something known as array. There is something known as object. There is something known as array of object. Hope you remember this concept right. we will be utilizing the base of this concept, which is we will write a resource in JSON today. Every resource in FHIR, if you write a ticket into a JSON format, will be an object, and by default that object holds the attribute which says resource type, and the resource type will be holding your name of the resource. Anybody who will tell me if you are working on patient resource, what will be the? I will just minimize it. What will be the name? Should I write here? Can I write it in lowercase like this? It is case sensitive. We cannot write it. It is uppercase P by default. You need to write a key which is resource type. It is a default key and it will tell you that it is of type patient. Now you don't have to remember anything. It is by default. You need to look into the specification and write it. What is the rule? For writing a resource here, just listen to these rules. You need to look into the specification from left to right. You cannot start the specification saying, I need to look right, identify, and I will read this and then I will write it. You need to go from left to right. Second one. Then look into the cardinality. Then add a square bracket. Then nothing. If not, then write it based on the data type. Considering next point. If it is array, you did it. Now considering if data type is, or I will talk about attribute. If attribute is comp, you need to add flower bracket. If attribute is complex, add flower bracket and then write a attribute is. That's it. That is the basic rule. If you look into or if you remember this rule, you will be able to write the details about it. Everybody remember what is a primitive. What is complex? Correct. Or you want me to give a heads up on that also? Attribute is primitive. When you will click on the data type, there are no further child. It will just tell you that these are the list of values you can use from it. For example, Boolean says you can just use true or false. There is no further child associated to it. Now if I close it and I will open. Identifier is complex because if you click on the identifier data type, you will be able to see there are further child associated to it. That means it is complex. Whenever you will find a complex thing, you will have to add a flower bracket. This is also. What needs to happen is this needs to add a square bracket. I will write one data type for you. For example, let me try adding identifier for you. Now you don't have to write data type. Here you will always write the keys which are present here. The key is identifier. And as I have already told, the JSON concept keys are always in double quotes. Identifier have written. Can I write uppercase I? I cannot write uppercase I because it is case sensitive. As what is the first rule? Look into the specification from left to right. We have chosen that data as identifier. Now let's look into it. How it is? If it is repeating, is it repeating? But it's, and if it is repeating, what does the rule say? It's an array. It's an array. We need to add a square bracket. Now, this is one step written. I will just do indentation also that the resource will also look nice. Now looking into the data type. If I click on the data type, if it is complex, what should I do? Look into the rule. Add flower bracket. Perfect. Beautiful. I will give indentation. Now over here, everything is optional. If you want to use some of the attributes, feel free to use some. If you want to use all, feel free to use all the attributes. Now, if you read into the specification, identifier says an identifier for a person. An identifier for a patient with respect to hospital context can be MN and N. Let's consider there is a MNN which you are having. Let's talk about what is this MNN. What is that notepad? It's here. I am going to use a key which is use. I will populate all of them for you. You will understand how I populated. Then all other attributes. You guys will help me in populating. Use. I am picking. It is of type code. What is the meaning of code? There are required values and the binding strength is required. You need to adhere to the value set. Few of the values are listed just for reference. If you want to see the entire list of codes, you need to click on this identifier use. If I click on this identifier use, it will show you what all values are there. It says these are the values which are there. Now source system should tell you that if let's say PID3, that it will always be the official identity. Just an example I am giving you. You need to take all of these confirmation from the source system, who is initiating the data for you. Considering here, it is the official MN because hospital recognizes it. What we will do is we will write official and this is code and it is a string. We will write it as official. Can I write it in uppercase? I will be keep on asking this question because this is a big mistake. Everybody does. And then the CDR will throw you in. Now I am going to look in the type. It's a beautiful question. If you look into the context, right? That's the values which are defined are only 5. And it does not work for me. What should I do? Anybody who will tell me we learned this concept. Even hidden, you can give it a try. It is required. It is required. You don't have a privilege to tweak, add, delete, extend, take code from other value set. Nothing can work here. If you use anything else, that will not work for you. And there is no provision. If Syria will throw you an error, there is no provision. Nothing of that sort which you can take or use. Using which you can add something else. There is another provision known as extensions. We will learn about it. But for use that is not at all possible. Did we answer your question, hidden? It's not possible. It is not possible. You can use extensions. We will learn how do we read write. What is extension? How do we read write extensions? But as of now for use. If you don't know the concept of extension, we cannot add our code which is of your choice. Moving to the next one. Let's write type. I have written a key type. Here it is a codable concept. What should I do? It is non-repeating. Should I add a square bracket? No, we should not add a square bracket. We should not add. It is not an array. We don't need to add a square bracket. Now we need to check whether the data type is complex or not. If it is complex, then we will add a flower bracket. Otherwise, we will directly write the value in double quotes. Now let's look into if the data type is complex. Let me click on Codable Concept Data Type. It is opening in the new window. I found there are two attributes which are being there. What does this mean? Should I add a flower bracket or directly write coding? No bracket. To add up, it is complex. I need to add a flower bracket. Again, you need to continue till you find the end root or end node of the JSON or the child or the FHIR attribute. I will opt for coding. Considering this coding is repeating. I will add a square bracket. Now let's look and wherever coding ends. I have another attribute text. We'll look into the text later. Let's look into what is this coding. I will open this coding as it is repeating. I've already added a square bracket. Coding is a complex data type. What we need to do is we need to add a flower bracket within this. I have added a flower bracket here. I can opt now. Very important part. You need to understand one more concept. Wherever you will find a data type which is codable concept. I have already told you there is a code which is defined within FHIR. And you need to adhere to that code. Extend code from a value set. That is what you need to do. Now, wherever you will find a codable concept, if you are doing it, it will be a complex data type. If you are opting for that data type, meaning if you are opting for type, here you will opt for coding. And if you are opting for coding, minimum, you need to adhere to these two things. Even if it is 0:1, minimum you need to adhere to system and code. Display is good to have, but minimum you have to adhere to system and code. Now, what is this meaning of the system and code? And I have already told you if the value set was. Data type is codable concept. The values are already defined. I came back to the parent data path identify type. If I click on identify type value set, this is going to tell me what is the values present. I will look for something which is medical record number. This is my code. This is now. You will understand why I told you that. Code and system are minimum set you should look for. And this is the medical record number. It will go into the display. Now, where is the system who has defined the code? System is nothing but the value which is written in the URL at the top level. I will write it here. Now what will happen when you will send this data? CDR, this is it, copied HTML. Wait, let me clear it out. It has to be 0:0. It is not. It is not mandatory. Even I am also saying it is not mandatory. Only thing is if you are opting for code, if you are opting for attribute code, you need to tell from which system you have taken the value. That is how CDR will validate the data. I think the value is also not copied correctly. Let me go. I see FHIR has not given the constraint on top of it. FHIR is not giving. FHIR has given you a privilege that you can only write medical record number. But other systems should be knowing what is the code for it and from which system it has been drawn. I think it's a plus point if I is given that the person who is learning FHIR newly, he will be adhering to the system code and display thing and they will be utilizing it in a proper way. Only thing which I can tell you, you can try proposing a change, giving it not here. You can try proposing a change here in this page and try telling Graham Greene that you should give. I hear that people should write the data type directly. If they are opting for it, Just a thought, you can try whether it will be accepted or not. That is their CCB team which will handle it. We cannot guarantee about it. But it is a good practice that you should do it. Now, what is this text? Text usually holds the same value as display. Some of the application takes the value from display. I worked with one of the application which was not looking into this detail. They only wanted under type text to be populated. This is the value what we will. We will be populating the same value here. Now let's go back to, I'll close the unwanted tabs. We have written type which is having two things. Now another thing comes, this system. It says the name is a very good question to that. Display is not validated by the CDR, even for this MR, even if you write medical record or underscore number. CDR will still accept it, but if you write MR1, that will not be accepted. I am not evaluating against the namespace there, but here. This display, that is why I was telling you, if you are opting for code, you need to tell the system also. Display, I have worked with, I think 4 CDRs, none of the CDRs validate the display. Even there is a typo, even there is a lowercase, even there is a, let's say the abbreviation MR, you can write MR also. That is, not a valid use case. Even if you write MR, that is still be accepted by the CDR because CDR will be working on this code. My experience goes is the end application usually trusts this second approach. I can tell you is there was an application who was looking into the code in their code base. They will find what is the relevant MR present. They will not even look into the display because people type anything in display. They had a code base. For example, the code base will say, tell me, select the value or the abbreviation from the table. Let's say the table name is this, where the code is MR. It will give you medical record number from the database. They picked up the value and they displayed on the screen. They didn't rely on this front, only two approaches. It is on you whether you want to hold a staging database where all the translations will happen and you will only be accepting a code as a key and you will get a value from your database. Or you are relying on the integration layer that they will be doing the mapping correctly. Mostly they will do it because they will be adhering to what end application is accepting. They will be adhering it. Again, if you add a staging layer, it is you who have to maintain that stager. Second front, if FHIR in the next release add a code you will be responsible to add another row to your table. That another row is also added and you will be working on that. Details also. Technical front. It is an architectural approach. I prefer integration. You are paying the integration layer to adhere to your contract. You are building an application. You have exposed the contract. You are paying an integration engine or integration engineer to adhere to you. That is their responsibility to adhere to the data contract. What you have exposed. Thing. Now let's look into the next one. I have already written type system. Very important part of this system is very important. You need to understand the concept of this system. You can definitely leave it. Because saying Sahil, this is YAL is to 1. But now what is the system? Let me give you an example. Sahil, who is working for ABC company, is having employee ID as 1, 2, 3. Now talking about Teepa, she works for Infosys. She also has employee ID as 1, 2, 3. Anybody who will tell me what can be the difference between the employee ID? Let's consider me and Deepa standing here we are talking to you. We just told we are working in an IT company. My employee ID is 123. Just a random question. Her employee ID, she also says my employee ID is 123. Anybody who will tell me what is the differentiator between her ID and my ID? It's the organization or the organization name who has assigned that number. That number or the ID here for Deepa is Infosys, for Sahil it is ABC company. Now very important part is here. The system will tell you who has assigned within the system. If it is a data type, within a data type, you find a system you need to adhere. If it is a codable concept, you need to adhere to the value set URL over here. If it is a system and it is not of a type codable concept, it is of type URL. If it is a URL, we will talk about what is URI. We will talk about what is URI. You need to tell who has declared this system or who has given this value. Who has given this value? It will be the system. Who will tell now? How do you tell that to the end application? Now let's talk about. We will write the value first. Let's look into. We talked about that. It is an MRN of a patient. Let's say it is MRN1 when hospital is given to the patient. How this system needs to be told. FHIR says system which is of type URI. URI is nothing but a URL which starts with HTTP. It is a HTTP or HTTPS URL. It can be a dummy URL or it can be an actual web page, does not matter. But it has to be a unique URL in the FHIR context for assigning this patient. For example, if it is assigning, let's say, MRN1002 to another patient, this URL should remain static. That the end application will understand. This system belongs to Apollo Hospital. This system belongs to Forts Hospital. Now, if this is the URL, let's say this is coming from Good Health Hospital. They can define it in this way, Good Health Hospital org/patient identifiers. Something like this, they can define anything. They can write ABCOG also, that is, and even if I hit it in the browser, it will not give me anything. It is totally fine. That is not an issue at all. That is not mandated by FHIR that it has to be a web page. But it has to be a HTTP URL. It has to start with HTTP. And then it can hold anything. You can. Even if you don't want to write anything, you can just say patient identifier. It will still accept it. Next, go back to the next one. I will not tell you reference. That is a referencing concept. We will learn it probably tomorrow. But this is a separate concept we will learn. Now value I have given is a string. I have given it in the double quotes. Period. I will hold on to the period. We will learn period in a separate attribute. We will look into something else. Any questions in this? How did we write this one attribute? This is one attribute. Similarly, we need to build the entire thing. And that will be a FHIR resource. A patient file resource by itself. That is the exercise we are doing to learn how to write a resource. Any questions? How did we write identifier? And why didn't I take the last two ones? Period is definitely here. I will help you write it. Referencing we will learn tomorrow. We need to know the referencing concept. That is how you will be able to write the referencing data type. Next is a Confluence page, which we worked for one of the cardiology project. It is totally internal to my company. And what happened there? I will explain here. Let's consider this. Everybody knows what is a Confluence page, right? It is a knowledge sharing page kind of thing, where people can add the details. Considering this to be the Confluence page, here they added the list of HIR attributes, now hidden for your context. you are going to build an application, which means you will have the privilege to add some of the constraints. That constraint application gave it to us. This is the application. This is the integration layer. They told that system has to be this thing. For example, let's say we were working for XYZ hospital. What they gave a constraint. I will talk about this system constraint only. What they told is system has to be http/. I will just write something abc.org/patient identifies. I think it was similar to this one, only slash. Then the name of the hospital from where it was coming. This constraint they have given. This is the source identifier they wanted to add. This is the constraint you can add on top of it. And integration layer. Anyhow, when the data, let's say it is HL7 to FHIR HL7 to in HL7 v2, there is no placeholder where the URL will come from. It is the responsibility of integration engine to map the incoming data to this system. For example, if you know sh.3, which is a sending application, mshe.4, which is a sending facility, based on the sending facility or sending application, that translation of this URL usually happens. That is how it usually works. You will have this privilege to define it, and integration engine will adhere to it. This is the hospital information system. The hospital is sending you V2 information. Now this one Zozo one is coming from hospital. Correct. Let's brief using. Let's see if I have a sample. There are some. Now taking this as an example that HL7 message is coming to you. I was saying this is the sending application. Here it is a sample. And this is the field name actually. They have written. Let's talk about it is Apollo or Apollo Patient Registration System. Now here sending facility. He's above. Now what is going to happen when this data will hit the integration layer? This is your integration engine. This based on this Apollo, when this integration engine will build the FHIR resource. Based on that Apollo, and one more thing. There is a data contract. Your application you hidden has declared that we are adhering to FHIR. And when you say we are adhering to FHIR, you will define. You can. I'm not saying you are defining. You can define that when you are building the resource. Please have the system for the identify.system and value to be something like this. That it has to say hayden.org/patient identifier/ from where it is coming. Now integration engine responsibility will be. This will be the static one. The Apollo is coming from a message.forth of the source system that you know, or you can also tell that you tell me, or you predefined, or I have given a configuration that whenever a deployment will happen, you can define a system in my application. You can define a system in my application, a unique system, for example. What it means? Hello. I will say Fortis. Whenever a deployment happens for Apollo, you can tell hatup/apollo.org/patient identifier. You can define this placeholder in my application. You can define this placeholder in my application when the deployment happens. It's a configurable file we have given. And you also make sure that you are sending the same system that the patient reconciliation happens properly. Same thing, you are doing it here. Whenever a deployment happens in the Fortis system, you can give a Fortis/org/something patient identifier that I can identify from where the data is coming. Now considering it's a common platform, Apollo and Fortis is sending data to a common platform, which is rarely a case. And it's a cloud proposition. In that case, something of this sort can work where this is static and here you can tell Apollo or 40 something or 40. You can add the details. Who is sending you the details? You can add the details about that system. I will tell you a couple of things. Integration engine is one such concept where you will be able to give a schema and you will be able to write it. But only part is considering. Let's talk about two things. Even if you work on integration layer, I will talk about two things. In the integration layer, if you are working on Rhapsody has couple of filters. I will show you one with the exercise which you gave me. I started working on it. But then yesterday, I had to go somewhere. I didn't finish it. If you have to work on this Rhapsody integration layer, you have couple of concepts where you can do the mapping. One is JavaScript. When I say JavaScript, it is a JavaScript filter. If you are seeing my screen, this is what I was doing yesterday. I was doing the same exercise. I will not explain what is being done as of now. I was building a JSON construct. I just mapped something for you. It will receive a JSON, CSV. It will spit out a JSON for you. As of now, it's a very minimal thing I have added. I will add more of the mappings to it. Here there is no schema I have given. In that case, when JSON, I am working on this JavaScript filter. Considering you also work on, let's say, Entity or a Java library, or you opted for an integration layer. In the integration layer, there is no schema present at all. In that case, you should be aware of where to add square bracket, where to add flower bracket. Now, there is another thing which is known as, in Rhapsody, if I talk about, there is another thing which is known as a mapper. In this mapper, input can be a HSL message, XML message. Let's consider it is a HSM message because HSN to V2 we are doing. Output is always XML. You can provide. Why I am saying always XML? Because this is a schema-based mapper. You can define a schema, input schema and output schema, and you can do drag and drop. I will just show you something. Is it in documents? Let me see if I can show you something. This is how a mapper looks like. It will hold. I have not added anything. This is an empty mapper. For 1 second. Let's go back to something else. We need to go and find something else. This is how the mapper will look like. This is HSN to ASA mapping. Do not worry how this is written. What is it? Here you can give a schema. For example, if you have seen the HL7 schema, a message segment has these list of attributes. UID. Let's talk about PID. Patient has these list of attributes and within subcomponents. Everything is mentioned here. It is drag and drop. If you have a field coming, you can drag and drop from here. You can write our passing logics also. You can write if else while for everything. Any passing, strict passing. You can do it in this mapper. You can add a FHIR schema here. And then you can do drag and drop stuff. That will do it for you. But the output will be in XML format. And then you can write libraries to convert it into JSON. But consider you don't want to add additional layer to it where there will be a passing. For example, you converted H7 to XML and then application expecting in the JSON format. You need to write another logic to convert it into the JSON format. Rhapsody provides a tool to convert XML to JSON. FHIR XML to JSON. You can give an XML input or a JSON input. FHIR did XML, FHIR did input. And you can convert vice versa. That is what Rhapsody did it for us. Because we asked them that. We have a requirement that because we did one implementation where the mapper is built, send file, and it is always spitting out XML, and we wrote a code, a JavaScript code, and it was a huge 2,000-3,000 lines of code, which was converting the XML to JSON. I know there are libraries, but those libraries will not at all work on the FHIR resources. We asked Rhapsody to provide us. As I have told you, our company is the biggest customer for Rhapsody. They took that as a challenge. And they opted, and they provided one of the releases where this filter is added. We are utilizing that filter. If you don't have those privileges and you have to write it into directly JSON, you should be aware of the concept, where to add square bracket, where to add flower bracket, code. It is not manually, it is via code. For example, I was writing this script. As of now, the identifier type I have written directly, but it is an array. I will create it as an array of objects. That is what I will be doing. This is still pending on me, but just FHIR, if you are using Mapper, you can provide a schema. There is also, if anybody has known, Apache has launched a free-holding coding script, which is known as FreeMarker. Here also. It is also schema-based, but you cannot give a FHIR schema. It's such a big schema. You cannot give it to it. Give it to the FreeMarker within Rhapsody. This is also where you will have to adhere to where to add flower bracket, where to add square bracket, what text you are writing. That will also be important. Your project should accept it. For example, what did I open? I opened it wrong. I didn't open. Now considering Rhapsody, I work on Rhapsody. I told you two things. I wanted to create a FHIR resource directly into a JSON. One more point. Let me add to one more point. As you are saying, you want to work on a schema-based, I will say mapper, because it is taking a schema and it is taking input schema, output schema, and from the input, you are mapping something to output. Output is your FHIR resources. I will here map it as send V to message. This is what we are planning to do, right? You should have a filter in Rhapsody. You should have a filter which accepts it. Now the problem is, it will always spit out XML for me. Provision is that I want it in the JSON format. Rhapsody provides me a provision. But what if you have to do it? JavaScript filter. Can you do it in JavaScript filter? The answer is, there is no schema present. You need to add it to the specification. Specification says, it is repeating, I will create a. It is object, I will create array of objects. That is why I showed you two examples. Now let me show you how the mapper looks like. Considering, as I have already told you, you will not be working on single resources. Even if it is a single resource, it will hold the definition of bundle. Let me show you now how it looks. It's a big project. Mapping file. That is where another point is, this mapper was pretty slow. There were performance issues. And I say performance issues. HOTS wanted to 60-40 per second, and this based on schema, it works pretty slow. That is why we this mapper to free marker, which I was telling you, set Apache based free mark that works where if we are able to process 3000 messages per minute, sorry, per second, per second, we are able to process. Considering this is the bundle resource and bundle resource hasn't, we'll talk about. You will definitely look into it. Within this, you will have the entire list of resources. Considering you are working on patient resource will have the entire schema. It's patient here, all the attributes which you see in the specification. As part of this is the R4 schedule. I have added there. Whatever you see here, I have added as a part of the schema on this machine. And it is not added. I downloaded XST from the downloads folder and I imported into the mapper. That's it. This is the entire patient resource. How do you map identifier? Let me show you. This is just, you can drag and drop also. This is identifier. I told you, you worked on. This is your. That's it. This is entry means. Bundle is group of resources. You need to work on iterations. Ident, it's the first. Repetition, you don't have to worry about. Bracket, all. You told it is official. That's it. This is how you can do it. We worked on system and value rate. This is your system. I'll put and on top of it if you want. If everything is there, everything, you can work on it. If you see, all of these things are already handled. What we told, it h:// or identity similar. We worked on value. This is coming from input message. Here input. I have also a FHIR scheme only. As a no, I will just say something from input. I will say 1. You can, just like how I am doing, drag and drop from here. You can do drag and drop from HL7. But here, in this case, let's consider this is only Cyril schema. I will just choose something, some text. I will put it here. Rather than hard coding, I will just take. Do you understand? Drag and drop works from both the sides. In this case, structure, where you will be able to pass it and using drag and drop skill. Considering the filter, the coding standard you are using. Just like if you are working Java, I don't think you will get a provision to create the latest version wrap, which is they have given adjacent schema also, but we are still evaluating the performance of 7.1 We have moved, not moved. There I cannot comment how it will work. They have given a provision HL7 to HL7. Let's consider client has exposed XML standard. It is not. A standard client has just given any random schema. You can create a schema of that XML. Also, will show you some very short example because let's say client has given something like this. If people know how to work on, if people know how to build X's, feel free to create manually. There is a manual procedure also. You can create it. I will just add two attributes. I will just say 30 and I will close this. But what Rhapsody has done is, Rhapsody says that if you are working on me, let me do one thing. Some favor for you. I will give you X generator. You can give me an output file. You don't have to build the schemas. Justify as schemas are more complex than rather than building a sample. If you can build XML what? Or mostly, the client will only give that this is a sample what we accept. You give me this sample, I will build a schema for you and you will be able to load the schema in the R mapper in the any filter which is accepting the XML schema. This is nothing with respect to Rhapsody FHIR. This is totally standard coding which anybody knows they can build a schema out of it. It is how much you know Rhapsody. You will be able to do it. That is the basic concept. Now, as I have told you, JSON schema is also supported in the latest version. But if you ask me, have I tried it? No, because our project first evaluates whether the entire product can be moved on the latest version or not. If yes, then we will be getting a chance to evaluate it. Evaluation is being done by another team. We still don't have access to it. The latest version is still not with us. Going back to the same, our resource, we will write another. I will just rename it to Snehil. Perfect Snehil. We will just look into the same rules. You can write me help active. Just minimize this window that it is here. Perfect can we? Can we do it? What should I type screen? No, there's nothing. It says data type is Boolean. There's nothing binding available for it. It says whether the patient record is in active use or not. That's it. That's the definition given to it. Whatever you will tell, I will type and others will correct. Active colon, which bracket should I add? Boolean accepts, correct 0, 1. But FHIR says it is true or false. What you are saying is, I should add it in double quotes, true or false. Anybody who thinks this is wrong. Another thing, Boolean. Boolean is a non-string data type. There is no requirement for double quotes. This is how I mean. Whenever I will write, it will look very easy. You just have to click here. They're everywhere and you will just have to write. But in case you have to write it manually, it sometimes feels difficult. Where should I click? Where should I move my cursor? Now, just to show you, I will open this one. Whenever you will write a data type, right, there is a difference in how you write. For example, if I say where a is equal to, can you see there is a difference? How the true is being printed. This is JavaScript. Boolean is considered as in blue color. Strings are in red color. End application will also be passing based on what you are sending. If you, just one more example, if I am sending it in double quotes, is it valid? You need to You need to click on human name as a data type, and you found that there are multiple attributes within it and it is a complex data type. That is where you added flower brackets. Then what next? You can use any of the attributes we have already mapped use. Let's work on this. We can look into text. We can. All of these are string data type. Can you help me write text family? And it is actually usually the full namespace. The last name you can write, full family, would be your. I will consider this is my family name. He paid attention to the entire rules. He is going left to right. He told given it is array and he told it is array of strings. How he knows array of strings? Because this is array, this is strings. Now very important part is, let's say I have given Sahil. If I have other names, for example, I have a middle name. I don't have it. In case you have it, feel free to. I'll just move my notepad here. Feel free to. Let's say my middle name I don't have, but let's add dot. If you have a middle name, you can feel free to write here. Now how end application will understand that this is the middle name. You need to inform them that this is the first name, this is the middle name, this is the last name, and the combination is present. Like this first name, I will say fun. Sorry, middle name. This is, in the text, we are giving you first name, last name, middle name, or whatever sequence you are passing. That is the specification, or you are adhering to their specification. Then you already know what you are building and what. Whenever the data will be sent to them, they will be knowing what they have received. I will go to the rules. It says look into the cardinality. If it is array, I will add repeating. Then add, now what do you have? If you have repeating, what should I add? I will add a square bracket. I will open a square bracket. I will close a square bracket. Sorry, what next? What should I do next? I will look into the contact point data type. Now your question will be answered. How should I know whether the double quotes, single quotes, no quotes should? I have chosen one of the code. It is written here. If you want to see the entire list, I will show you. Entire list is present here. I have taken phone as one of the value. Now what should I do next? No, two things. You just have to remember two things. You just have to remember. One is any resource. If it is a bundle resource or any resource in FHIR, it will start as an object, not array. It will start as an object. When you have to type group of resources, we will look into how do you create group of resources. That is a bundle concept, just understand. For a single resource, any resource in FHIR context will start as an object and there will be a default key as resource type, as patient. Then after that you don't have to remember anything. Then it is a specification. Look into left to right, look into the cardinality, look into the data type. Now add your right perspective of brackets, choose the right keys. Once you choose the right key, start the data mapping as per the data type, not what you know, as per the data type. Combination of multiple patient resources. We will look into it, but it will not work like this. That is a bundle resource. We need to learn another concept, grouping of resources. That is another concept. In within itself, that is another. Take full session. Any questions? But any questions? How did we write this? And then we will move to the next one. I specifically wrote the attribute is complex because first day when I was telling you an example, that attribute can be complex based on either the data type or how this is defined in the specification. There is a contact data type which is complex, not because of the data type, because of how it is defined. This is parent or this. There are further childs within it. If you write contact square bracket, then start with flower bracket and then put relationship, and again when you are starting with the relationship, it is again repeating. Someone will write this also. Let's see. I will not choose gender. I will write date because it is very simple. Let's write it. Where is this? Sending square bracket is ending somewhere here, not the last one. For example, why I didn't add a comma here? Because there is no another key present as part of your telecom, or you are not opting for it. One more thing I didn't add to it. For example, now active. Guys, 1 second. Considering one example that if you don't have to take the attribute, for example, you don't want to map. Let's say address, you don't have the address. What FHIR says is to not contain that key in your attribute. It is like, for example, let's say if this is address, Control C. If this is address, if you don't have any details about it, do not add address. Then put square bracket because you know it is array and it is a data type is complex, and leave it blank. No, please do not use it. Please remove the entire thing as it is now. Even on the same lines, if we say address, where is address? It is here. If you are opting for address, let's say you only know what is line 1 or you only know the city. If you are only knowing the city, do not write other keys like, for example, you will write line is repeating it, is this one. Do not keep it like this and then keep it empty attributes. The concept is empty attributes within the resource are not allowed. If you don't have the value, please remove this. And then if you don't have the entire object, please remove the entire object. Also this one. It is not required. FHIR will not accept it. Sajjar will throw you an error. Now let's go back and write birth date. I was about to write birth date at birth date. I have opted for a key birth date. Now how do I write it? It is non-repeating. I will not add any square bracket. This is date. Let's see if it is complex or not. I can see this is primitive. Based on it says it is a text. Now for the technical folks. It says you can. The format is YY. Someone who will tell me if I just send this value, is it valid? But will it make sense to the end application? No, it will not make sense to the end application. Either you use the right format. FHIR says this is valid only if the end application is saying, I am only interested in here. There will be a rare application which will say something like this. But that is only the case when you will send something like this. Kindly use something which is making sense to the end application. I'm just taking one of the example. Format is also given. If you are more technical, please feel free to read the regex. Where's the notepad? ++. I'm just copying, pasting the date. This is your date you are adding. Now moving to the next one, disease. I will tell you how this works. I have already told you. Wherever the square bracket x is found, let's say wherever the square bracket x is found, it is an option to the implementer. It is an option to the implementer which data type you want to opt for, and I have asked a question that day on what basis you will choose what data type you have to work with. That will be dependent on the specification of the end application, whether end application is accepting Boolean or they want daytime when the patient died actually. In this case, if you have to write diseased, you don't have to write diseased X and then create a child within it and then write it. No, not like this, it is. You need to replace this square bracket X with the data type. This is the data type and how the data type will be printed. It will be printed in this fashion. Now consider you are writing or opting for diseased boolean. Diseased boolean colon, now boolean. We have already learned that it is true. Considering the patient is still alive, I am marking this as false, and it is either of them. Can you write another key which is saying disease date time? Answer is no, you cannot do it. Now, anybody who will tell me address? Let's see whom. I have not spoken. Deepagav, I have spoken a lot of time. Shreya, I see me. Just like in Amazon. You can add your home address and office address. It is the same example. You can order it at your home place or at the office place also. What next? Let's work on. This is postal code again of the same data type. Let's leave this. Can we write line? Then all of that. Can we write line and a city? That's it. Other than that, it is of same data type. Can we write line? You can write entire thing in this. It is repeating. You can write entire thing, and it is based on the specification of end application. What is the first array component? What is the second array component? Whether the street name number is the same. They are also expecting you can modify based on, let's say, street 1 near Xai's hospital. Something you can write and then you can close it. Then let's write city that you know. String data type. Can you write period also? Because I don't see period data type mentioned. I will open it again for you. Let's write period. It says during what time this address will be in use. For example, you are frequent moving from one location to another. You can mention, I will be staying here in this address only for 6 months. They will add something of that sort in the period. And how do you define this period? It is in double quotes. I will just copy. It says some format. All formats are mentioned here. I will just add something of this sort here. Z is nothing but your offset. I just keep on pressing page up. There is end. Let's say you are saying end is going to. This address is going to be invalid after 6 months. I will just paste this and I will just increment month with 6. Yes, it has to be curly braces because period says it is having 2 attributes and the data type is complex. Rather than saying it as the array, I was just waiting for someone to tell me that it has to be flower bracket. It has to be flower bracket because the data type is complex, non-repeating. This is how period is written. Who else is there? We can write contact also. I think she dropped. Fine, that is. Anyone who will? Who will write first? Multiple birth. You can try multiple birth also. We have already written. You can try multiple birth and contact. Because I just want to see if you remember the concept from the multiple birth. How do we write multiple birth? It's a twins. It's a twin. We marked it as true. Multiple birth. If it is integer, only one can be defined. Only one can be defined. Only one can be defined in our book. Beautiful. You remember this one. Now let's see how you write a contact. To please make sure you are there to this. I am only interested in this. Yeah, and I says I'll copy this also. This is a rule actually, which is this is the rule and your I says this needs to be adhered. Going back to where is your contact, fine, can we write this contact? It is having the same set of attributes. As of now, I will just copy paste this thing in the end. It says a contact, the contact party. It can be a partner. In this case, you need to change the names because it has to be someone who has taken you to the hospital. Rather than first name, last name, I'll just say Sahil 1S1, K1, any person who is taking you to the hospital will fit here. This will finish your contact. You can add other attributes. It will be the same concept. Reading from left to right, square bracket based on cardinality. If it is repeating, flower bracket based on the data type. If it is complex, then writing the data type. If it is integer, without quotes. Boolean without quotes. String always with quotes. Now anybody who has a question, how do we write a resource? And now you can write any other attribute with the same concept. I didn't know. See if you can see my screen. 681 conct is repeating. That is why a square bracket is there. First instance of the name Ray that should be in the curly braces. I'm not sure if others can see this. This square bracket is for repeating only, hidden. If you are seeing my screen, it's the name you know. I was just thinking like, because the name itself is the first object, right? It could be repeating once, right? No, contact that contact you. Contact, you added square bracket because cardinality is this one. Now it is complex. We missed one flower bracket. Sorry, there is one missing flower bracket. That is correct because the data type is complex based on how it is defined in the specification. After the square bracket, it has to be the flower bracket because it is having more keys. Correct, good catch. Now any other data type, any other attribute can be written with the same practice, same set of rules. We will learn tomorrow. What is extension? What are the FHIR APIs? Then we will look into bundle concept and profiling, and that might be the end of the entire session. Then one use case we need to cover, and finally do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.